Hello chess friends and welcome to the Out of Chess channel and welcome to the absolute stunner of the TCEC season 23 Superfinal between the two top engines, Stockfish 15 and the Lc0. So this is it. This is in my opinion the best game of this Superfinal so far. Here in this game you'll see so many beautiful ideas that can happen in chess. First we'll see a beautiful king maneuver that will go all over the board. So first the king will be on the queen side, then it will be in the center of the board, then it will be on the king side, then we'll see also IMMORTAL 15 moves tactical sequence, really a beautiful forced tactical sequence that ends with a beautiful queen sacrifice, and that could have ended with really an IMMORTAL smothered weight with the knight. So this game had, as I said, really wild motifs. Be prepared, this was simply again a beautiful game from another dimension. So let's see now the game. Stockfish 15 here with the white pieces against Lila-C0 with the black pieces, and Stockfish opened with the move e4. We have here c5 by Lila, knight to f3, e6, d4, c takes d4, knight to d4, knight to f6, and after knight to c3 the game transposed now into the Scheveningen Sicilian. Okay, when we talk about the pawn structure, about the Scheveningen Sicilian, we have to immediately say something about this d6 e6 pawn structure. It's a mobile pawn structure. We have talked about the mobility of this pawn structure many times. So the main attacking goal of blacks is of course to create a breakthrough with the move d5, but the downside about this structure is of course the d6 weakness. So many times white is trying to play maybe this kind of a queen to g3, bishop to f4 battery against the weak pawn on d6, and then of course if you castle queenside you're controlling further the attack with some activities by the rook on the d file. So this is the way to go against the Scheveningen structure. Maybe you'll not win the game by playing on this weakness. Probably black can defend maybe this weakness, but it's actually a tactical goal, and then afterwards when the dynamics a little bit change, then you have also opportunities on some other sides. But this is the main goal in the beginning. The d6 can be really a warnable square. So in the continuation, bishop to e3 first was played by Stockfish 15. We have bishop to e7, and now queen to f3. This is also a very common line, although many times you see this similar to the English attack like f3, g4, h4 and similar stuff. So many times white is launching this kind of attack, plays something like queen to d2, and also then followed with queenside castling. So in the continuation we have queen to f3, a6 by Lila-C0, normal stuff of course. b5 is also now the common preparation, continuing the pressure on the queen side. So as usual we have this opposite side attack game where black is attacking the queen side and white is of course attacking the king side. Who is faster on the attack will probably win the game. So here in the continuation we have now queenside castling by Stockfish 15. Notice the rook is always here dangerous on the d file. So queen to c7, we have g4 by Stockfish 15, knight to c6, g5, knight to d7, the knight has to retreat, and now knight to c6, undermining a little bit the pressure in the center of the board. This move makes really sense because if you want to make progress with the move bishop to f4 in order to continue the pressure on the square d6, then you don't want to have the knight, of course. Then the e5 could be the fork idea by black to defend the position and then maybe to trap the piece. So that's why here first Stockfish releases the pressure a little bit in the center, plays now knight to c6, we have queen to c6, and now comes already the direct attack against the weak pawn on d6. So we have now b5, a3 has to be played now by Stockfish 15, because if you don't do that then b4 is going to happen and you pick up simply here the weak pawn on e4. So that's why a3. We have rook to b8. This is also a normal idea now by Lila-C0. Lila is trying now to play the move a5 and now also the move b4. So Stockfish continues now with the plan, bishop to f4, attacking simply the d6 weakness, and here you have to play e5. You don't have different ideas to protect the pawn on d6. Okay, you have your fun, you have one tempo against the bishop, but now of course the d5 is a vulnerable square. And now okay, maybe you have protected the d6 weakness, but now you have created new weaknesses. Now we have a weak square. So there are basically two weaknesses that you can provoke in your opponent's camp. It's a weak pawn or maybe a weak square. So you see how the weakness changed, but actually still Stockfish has a solid game, especially now around the square d5. So we have now a5, and of course the serious threat is the move b4. If you ignore the threat, if you play something like h4, this is not good because black is faster on the attack. So as I said, who is faster on the attack will probably win the game. This is simple rule of the opposite side attack game. You see now, if you ignore your opponent's threats also in this kind of games, you could get destroyed, because now of course you have to take 8x b4, 8x b4. Okay, you can maybe occupy now again the d5 square, but now with b3 black is already there. Maybe this is defendable, maybe you can include more defenders in the defense, but I don't like the fact that black has already attacked me here. So that's why you have to also sometimes understand your opponent's threat, or at least slow down his attack. That's a very important rule in this opposite side attack games. Maybe your opponent is coming, maybe your opponent is coming through somehow, but you can at least slow down his attack, or at least get out of the range of the attack. So that's why Stockfish first played the move knight to d5. He's saying, okay, you can play the move b4, 8x b4, 8x b4, but now I slow down your progress with the move b3. Okay, maybe still you have chances on the a file, maybe still you have chances, but at least I'm not vulnerable anymore with this b3 move. So here in the continuation, knight to c5 was played by Lila-c0. Many of us would even try probably something like this. This is not working. Bishop to a6, look at this, queen to a6. You're trying of course to deliver an annoying check, but look at this, knight to c7 would be a beautiful fork here against the queen and the king. So the bishop in a6 is not working. But I always, when I analyze the game at home, I try always to see how to include the pieces into the game. I always wonder how to get a beautiful activity with my pieces. So that's why I considered immediately to move bishop to a6. But you see now this is not working. This is, for instance, how I analyze the games at home. At least I'm trying to see opportunities for both sides. That's now, I think, the most important here thing to say, because the bishop to a6 move would be a beautiful possibility, because then you could maybe, as I said, include the queen into the game, continue the pressure on the a file, and when the queen maybe somehow gets here on a1 or something, then you could get destroyed, especially also by the possibility maybe of the c file attack. So many opportunities are here also for black. So knight to c5 was played by Lila-c0, bishop to c4. Stockfish continues simply to fix the position around the square d5. The problem is knight to e4 is not working again, because you get simply queen to f3. Now you have to step back and look at this. Knight to f6 is winning the game. You have a beautiful discover check, and now the queen is hanging. So if this game is over, you can immediately resign. So this is not working. So after move bishop to c4, Lila-c0 continues to develop also the minor pieces, bishop to e6, so attacking also this very powerful knight in the center of the board on d5, and now h4. Now finally Stockfish continues the pressure, and it's launching now this kingside attack against black's position. So here in the continuation, rook to c8, we have queen to f3, bishop to d8. So you see, beautiful maneuver also by Lila-c0. Lila is searching for opportunities for the dark square bishop, because when the bishop is staying on this diagonal, it's always blocked out by its own pawn. And okay, maybe in the near future this knight could maybe take out the bishop, but you don't want to give up such a powerful knight against such a bad bishop. So that's why the knight stays longer in the center of the board. So here Lila is searching for opportunities to reroute the bishop and search for new opportunities. So we have now h5. Stockfish is continuing the pressure. So you see, Stockfish has still a certain flexible possibility here to attack the position. I think black's attack is a little bit splashed, because okay, you have advanced the pawn on b4, but there's simply no support. There's simply no other pawn that could maybe open the position. The position is advanced, but it's simply too fixed for my taste. So you see, there's simply no potential progress here anymore by any pawn. So in my opinion, white's attack is much more powerful because of the flexibilities. You still are flexible. That's, I think, the main difference here. You still have the opportunity to play the move g6 or the move h6, which whatever you like. I think it's perfectly fine here for white. So kingside castling, you have to finally secure the king by castling, because g6 was coming. We have now king to d2 by Stockfish 15. Really a beautiful move. In the beginning I was like, what are you doing? Why are you going with the king towards the center? But this makes really sense if you think about this position a little bit harder. We have to say it, the only way that I see that white could get attacked is of course on the queen side by rook to a1, rook to a8, rook to a1. When we think about the central position, is pretty much fixed, I think. Look at this, the position in the center is simply really glued together. It's really compact. Every piece is now coordinated towards the square d5. So there's no way, there's at least no good way, here for black to open the center, so the center is closed. So that's why you're searching for opportunities to defend yourself where the position is fixed. And now I think moving the king towards the center is perfectly fine, because the center is not going to get opened. You can maybe lose the battle on the queen side, but in the center of the board, I think this is a good position here for white. So rook to a8. Lila continues now with the plan to maybe somehow include more pieces on the queen side and maybe sneak in somehow around the square c2, but Stockfish simply continues with king to e1 and gets now out of this tactical mess. So we have rook to a2 attacking the pawn on c2. Stockfish simply protect with rook to c1. We have queen to c8, trying of course some annoying ideas like bishop to g4 and similar stuff. Here in the continuation of Lila c0, Stockfish plays simply queen to g2. If you play, for instance, if instead of this move queen to c8, if you play f5, look what actually happens. There is a problem about the square b4. So you see, after move rook to c1 and queen to c8, the problem is now you cannot take knight takes b4, because you get simply bishop to a5 and you get pinned. So notice that this pawn is also weak, but it cannot be taken immediately by white. So that's why queen to c8 is possible. But for instance, if you play here the move instead of move queen to c8, I've also analyzed this move. I was very curious what's going to happen if you play f5, because maybe black could search for opportunities to attack the queen on the f-file by the rook activity, by the bishop's activity. Actually, then it's quite risky, because you can play here e takes f5, after rook to f5, again here queen to f5 is even an opportunity. After bishop to f5, you have here this one, knight to e7, and you have a beautiful fork. Or you can immediately play here knight to f6 and again trap the queen. Again, you have this discovered attack against the queen. That's, I think, the most important now tactical motif. So be careful here. So that's why after move rook to c1, Lila c0 has to get out of the potential range of the queen here on f3, and Stockfish continues now with queen to g2, is now finally trying to break and enter with the move g6. So we have now king to h8. Here Lila c0 sense that maybe the g file could be open, but Stockfish simply continues now with a beautiful g6 move. And let's see now what happens. If you take, for instance, with the pawn f takes g6, then the game is over. You can resign immediately, because after h takes g6, you can maybe try to lock the h5, but now we sacrifice. The rook is coming in and the position gets destroyed. This is now a brutal tactical sequence that black is facing. You can maybe take, but now look at this g7, the fork, which simply promote to a new queen, and the king is open in the next couple of moves. You're getting destroyed for sure. So this is not working. So you cannot also take, of course, with the h pawn, because the same thing happens, because you get h take g6 now. The h file is even opened with the check. So now if you play king to g8, the queen is included into the attack, and you're getting probably then destroyed on the h file. So you see, these moves are not working. You cannot open the position like this. So that's why here rook to g8 was played by Lila c0. Lila tried to somehow protect the pawn on g7, because maybe you can use the g file in order to attack the position further. But now Stockfish continues with rook to g1 anyway, is trying to somehow break and enter, maybe with the move h6, bishop to h6. So you see, still it's not clear in the beginning how Stockfish is going to open the position in a good way, but I think we can really sense the attacking flow. This is really now a really brutal build up here by Stockfish 15. So we have now rook to h7, because if you ignore again this f7 square, if you play something like, I don't know, maybe queen to a8, if you continue with your plan, then g takes f7, bishop to f7 is going to happen. And now with knight to c7, we can even here play this kind of idea. Look at this, bishop to c7, bishop to f7 is working, so we can immediately take out the bishop. If you lose the bishop on f7, then it's game over. This is really a powerful piece. So this kind of a tactic, for instance, could work. So you see, you cannot ignore this threats on this diagonal. So that's why Lila c0 had to retreat. The only threats that Lila had maybe were around the square c2 or similar stuff, but now the rook is passive, and here black is losing now all of the pieces just in order to defend this position. So we have now rook to d1, and Stockfish sense now the blood really here, smells really the blood here, because Stockfish noticed also that the d6 is a vulnerable square like usual, and the queen is not protecting the d6 anymore. So now Stockfish is searching 4 opportunities on the king side, but also a little bit now in the center of the board. So we have now bishop to h4 and now knight to b6. This is now a stunning move attacking the queen. What are we doing? We have queen to c6, and now after bishop to e6 we have here knight to e6. If you take f takes e6, this is not working because, as we said, you are vulnerable here around the square d6, because now white simply plays knight to c4. Maybe you can take out here the pawn on e4, queen to e4, knight to e4, but look at this, the rook is hanging also on a7, so this is also not working. So let's go back. After bishop to e6, here you have to take with knight to e6, and now after knight to c4, attacking the pawn on d6. So as we said, this is also a vulnerable square. Now comes really the most epic and most brutal tactical sequence of all times, maybe. Put your seatbelts on. From this point on, this is really monstrous what Stockfish is doing here. Knight to d4 was played by Lc0, and this makes really sense because this is closing the position, this is slowing down the attack of whites. But now Stockfish plays an immortal rook sacrifice, rook takes d4, and from this point on, black is only on the reactive side. You have to make whatever white now wants you to make, because after e takes d4, bishop to d4, the rook is hanged first of all. So where are you going with the rook? First of all, you have to stay on the 7th rank, because you are vulnerable here around the square f7. So you have to play rook to d7 or rook to e7. Let's see what happens, for instance, if you play rook to e7. If you play rook to e7, then we play g takes f7. You have to now again take rook to f7, and the problem is now this progress. h6, look at this, the bishop is lined up against the king here. You can maybe try a dirty tactic like bishop to f2 just to prolong the game, but actually with queen to f2 we can even sacrifice the queen here. This wasn't played in the game, but this would be also brutal tactical sequence. Rook to f2, we have here h takes g7, first the check, you have to now take bishop to g7, you have to now step back with the king. Now we pick up the rook, and in this particular scenario, okay, maybe white can lose here the pawn on e4, but these 3 pieces against the queen would of course be much better. So this is not working. So let's go back. After move h6, you could maybe try here to play bishop to f6. You don't want to maybe battle here around the square f2. But still, this is not working, because after bishop to f6, look at this, rook to f6 is not working. You get h takes g7, you have to give up the rook. If you take, of course, with the pawn, then you get checkmated here on the g file. So this is not working. So this kind of ideas are not working. So after move bishop to d4, that's why you see you have to stay also here on the 7th rank. As we said here, the rook to e7 move we have analyzed now here in the game. A rook to d7 was played by Lc0. Now Stockfish continues with queen to g4, attacks now also the rook, attacks now also the bishop. Now we have rook to e7. Now we have king to f1, because the threat is, of course, if you pick up here the bishop, you get here rook to e4 and you lose simply the piece. So that's why you have to play now king to f1. And notice Stockfish castled queenside. Stockfish was with the king in the center, and Stockfish moved now the king towards the king side, now to the square f1. Really wild stuff. If you would have maybe watched the game now from this particular position, I think many of us would say Stockfish castled kingside, or Stockfish didn't castle at all, or something. But actually, as we said, Stockfish king had really an immortal path already in the game. So after move king to f1, we have rook to e4, and now a beautiful, brutal, monstrous queen sacrifice, queen to e4. Really wild stuff. Look at this, queen to e4, and now comes knight to d6 with an immortal smother mate possibility on f7. You cannot, of course, ignore the threat. You have to now make something. You have to create breathing spaces for the king. Knight to e4 was played. We have here a rook to d4, and it seems so that again black has defended this position. But look at this now, g takes f7. Finally, this is a serious threat, the potential promotion. The king can, of course, come closer. You have to include now the bishop into the defense. Here, if you try, of course, rook to e4, f8 is immediately lost game here for black. So that's why after move g takes f7, you have to play bishop to e7. But now comes a new brutal move. Really, as we said, this is really a forced tactical sequence. There's nothing that black could have done differently here. From bishop to e7. Now look at this. rook to g5. It's coming really wild stuff. This is really immortal what Stockfish is doing here. Rook to g5 with ideas to include somehow the rook here into the game and the deliberate check. Again, I'm pointing out the king cannot come closer. Again, you cannot take out the rook. This is not possible. The bishop is stuck here to the defense of the f8 square. Even if you try something like rook to e4, again, this is not possible. This wasn't also played in the game. Lila didn't play this move because rook to b5 is going to happen again with some serious threats. And let's see now what happens. If you play something like maybe bishop to f8, look at this. We play rook to b8. You are maybe creating some breathing spaces with the move g6, but actually with the move h6, the position gets paralyzed. And what should you do now? Maybe you can just prolong the game with rook to e8 and similar stuff, but still the game is over. So after move the rook to b5, you could of course play here the move bishop to d6, but again after rook to b8 you have only one square you can maybe cover again with the bishop, but it's again game over. Let's see different opportunities after rook to e4 and rook to b5. If you play g6, if you play for instance a breathing move here, you're trying to escape with your king on dark squares, again you play the move h6. Rook to d4 can be maybe an opportunity to play rook to d8. This makes really sense because you're trying to lock now the 8th rank. You're trying to protect yourself on the 8th rank, but actually again with rook to b8 this is not working because even if you cover yourself now with the move rook to d8, we're picking up the rook and now we just promote the queen, and again it would be a beautiful and immortal checkmate. So you see, rook to g5 was played by Stockfish 15, and there's no good defense against this kind of a tactical shot. So here Lila0 tried the g6, again the same motif, trying to create a little breathing spaces, but now h6, bishop to f8 was played by Lila, again with the same motif, but now rook to e5, we have bishop to h6. So you see, Lila played basically the only moves that were possible. Still, we are really in this forced tactical sequence, but now comes the stunner rook to e8. You have to cover with the bishop. We have bishop to rook to f8 here. We have king to g7. Now knight to g5. Here in the continuation we have king takes f8, but now look at this, how Stockfish calculated this position. Knight to e6, and now the rook is taken here. You have to of course take out now the pawn. Knight to d4. Here Lila0 get closer with the king, but now Lila lost also this pawn, and from this point on it's an immortal, really beautiful endgame, which is of course winning here for white. So from the move for 33, we're now in the move 50. This was really a forced tactical sequence. These were really beautiful 70 moves. So let's go back really to the move 33. This is really wild. So here okay, this was now the stunning tactic. We're now move 33. Let's repeat again this moves. Rook to d4, e takes d4, bishop to d4. Let's see again, queen to g4, double attack, king to f1, getting out of this e4 square. We have rook to e4, queen to e4, beautiful queen sacrifice, and now look at this, knight to d6. We have knight to e4. You pick up of course here the bishop, but now this pawn is rolling. It's basically unstoppable. The only moves now Lila0 played here, h6, preventing this king to escape. We have now bishop to f8, and now the rook came into the game. Here check, knight to g5, and here after knight to e6, Stockfish simply picks up the rook and picks up also this pawn. So as I said, this is now completely winning. So let's see a couple more moves because the game was prolonged for more moves a little bit here. The Stockfish just pushed the pawn further. We have also the move f4, getting the king closer. We have now b4, king to c7, knight to e5, attacking also the pawn at g6. We have g5, Stockfish simply takes another pawn. Here push the pawn further, get the king closer, h3, promoted to a queen, and here after queen to f7, king to d8, and queen to d7. This was a beautiful checkmate here by Stockfish 15. So what to say, really immortal tactical sequence, really wild stuff how Stockfish performed here with this beautiful motifs, with the, first of all, as we said, the beautiful king maneuver all over the board, including more pieces into the attack, breaking through with the move g6. Suddenly this smothered mate was possible on f7. The beautiful queen sacrifice came into this tactical sequence. Really brutal stuff. So okay, I hope that you enjoyed the game. I really enjoyed it a lot. Interesting ideas of the Scheveningen Sicilian for sure. If you want to see more brutal attacks like this, check out our commented chess games played by computer series with some more really immortal games like this. Here's the link of our whole playlist, and if you like this content, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. See you soon with some more videos, and what to say, chess is the best, of course.